Incantations and Enchantments by Donald Tyson, The Power of the Voice and the Breath in Magic, is a book that's actually not out yet at the time of recording this. I'm recording on the 29th of May 2024, and this isn't out until August 2024. I will nevertheless leave links down in the description for pre-orders, because my guess is that after watching this review, many of you are going to want this. It's great. It's just absolutely great. It's the book that got the most votes last month. So in the month of April, at the end of the month of April, I made a review, just an overview of all the books that I'd received over the month of April. And this is the book that most of you wanted to see more about. So this is why I'm making a review for you guys. And I've really enjoyed reading this. I'm going to say that Donald Tyson is exactly the right person to tackle the idea of the power of the voice and the breath in magic. His style is approachable. I think we already know that through his other works, which have been very well received. He's really proven what a great didactic thinker and writer he is. I think the thing that I like the most about his writing style is that he's aware that many different kinds of readers will be picking up his books. Some readers who don't have any idea about magic whatsoever, and some people who have been practicing magic for a very long time. And he makes sure that every reader who picks up his book is going to come away with something useful. Not just something interesting, but actually something that they can integrate into their practice, something that they can put to work. And it's extraordinary. That's a gift that not many writers have, and I really strongly appreciate that, and have appreciated this throughout reading this wonderful book. All right, let's possibly look at the structure of the book. The first few chapters give you a little background on how the breath and how speech has been used in magic throughout the ages. Right. So this introduction gives you an idea of what to expect in the book, of course, but then he goes into this living breath, and then talking about the vowels. And his ideas come from very well researched places, and this is another thing that I really appreciate, is the useful footnotes. Now, we're not talking about reams and reams of footnotes. Every time there's a footnote, it's a footnote that I wanted, right? So he's aware that there are some ideas that are going to be, well known by practitioners who've been into magic for over 5 years, but not to magicians who haven't been practicing for over 5 years. And so he makes sure that there's there's information for those people, and whenever he brings up a more obscure concept, that obscure concept is explained down in the footnotes. People who know about that obscure concept can actually forget all about it and just move on. But the explanation is there if you need it, and then you don't have to go looking for endnotes at the end of the book. I really appreciate having the information that I'm missing right now to fully understand this sentence just at the bottom of the page. I think that's really great. But he's not talking down to people who already have that knowledge, right? Which is really cool. So so those first few chapters, as I was saying, gives you a background and a history on how the breath has been understood in different contexts, different civilizations, throughout history. And oh my goodness, it's fascinating stuff, folks. I mean, having been through Jack Grail's courses, I recognized a lot of what Donald was talking about here. and I recognized it to be accurate. And the great thing is that he gives his sources here, as does Jack Grail, of course, in his courses. But yes, it's really nice to have it on paper and fully understanding. For example, the importance of the breath in the Greco-Egyptian magical papyri, in theurgic magic, and in goetic magic. And it's really nice, because he knows what he's talking about. And again, I'm not going to say that it's rare, but it's certainly not the majority of the time, that I read books like this where I think to myself, this person doesn't just know the little narrow field of interest that they're writing about. They understand the very broad spectrum of magic and the very broad history of magic and geography of magic. And he understands that, magic has got different ways of being understood in different contexts and in different circles, and he gives you insights into all of those little circles, not in any kind of deep, laborious way, but in every case, it's just been enjoyable to read. There was no point here where I was thinking to myself, oh, okay, I know all this, I can just skip, because it was so entertaining to read. Right. Then, after he's given you this kind of background on the history of using words and the power of letters, giving you, for example, ideas that each letters in certain traditions, each letter has got a spirit associated with it, and therefore pronouncing these letters simply, has power in itself, because you're bringing these spirits to life, and therefore translating these words of power, for example, just that doesn't work, because that's not the point. The point is not the meaning. The point is the sound. So these kinds of ideas. And what else do we have? So once he's done that, he then goes into practicality. Don't get me wrong, he gives plenty of practical stuff that you can try out for yourselves while he's giving you that history, right? So it's one of his techniques to keep the reader interested, make it useful for you right now. But then he gets really into the nitty-gritty of practicalities, right? And this chapter on spellbinding, in which he goes into knots, right? And the use of tying breath into knots and tying spells into knots. It's so interesting, folks. So interesting. I obviously knew that knot magic existed, but clearly Donald Tyson is a he's looked into this a lot more than I have, and he shares his knowledge just in a very, very interesting way, in a way that makes it possible for anyone really to include this kind of magic into their own practice. Healing spells, so then he goes very much into effects, right? And that's kind of the second half of the book is about very specific effects, how those specific effects have been generated throughout history, right? Sometimes in less ethical ways than would be ideal, but also probably in less possible ways than would be reachable by the average magician in 2024. And then he also gives you alternatives for your own practice. And this is always, what I appreciate so much, is that he makes everything so accurate to history, and then he gives you practical alternatives and the reason why they can work. And I love this so much. You can tell probably from the way I'm talking about this that I'm very, very enthusiastic about all of this. Spells for protection, and then yes, an entire section on maledictions, because well, that is a part of the history of spoken magic, right? Maledictions over here is quite a lengthy chapter, because well, there's so much throughout history that has been devoted to maledictions. I mean, the majority of the spells in the PGM, in the Greco-Egyptian magical papyri of late antiquity, were maledictions, and how to get my neighbor to have, bad crops so that my crops sell better, or whatever it might be, right? Pretty nasty stuff. But yes, so he gives you the way that worked, right, and the way people would think about it, and he gives it all in an ethical way, which is really cool as well, right? And then finally he gets into enchantments, a chapter on what enchantments are, and why somebody would enchant an object. The idea is to make an object magical in some way. And then the final chapter before the conclusion is how to enchant specific magical objects, specifically herbs, potions, and wands for your actual practical use. Giving examples from actual historical magic. It's great stuff. I'm going to start recommending this to beginners, right? Many people ask me, hey, where should I start? I've usually recommended Aidan Wachter. I've recommended Jason Miller's work. I'm going to be including this in my list, because it's such a comprehensive overview of magic, just very specifically through the lens of the spoken word of the breath, right? And it's so accessible that it's the kind of book that you can read once at the beginning of your magical career and get a huge amount out of, read again 5 years later, and then again 20 years later, and still be getting just gems, right? Useful stuff that you'll have missed in previous readings. But every time you're going to be getting something useful for your understanding and for your practice. What more can one possibly hope for? So yes, I would say if you're watching this at the time that I'm releasing it, in just early summer, late spring, early summer of 2024, definitely put your pre-orders in. I'm sure that you'll be very, very excited when you receive it and read it. I'm sure that the spine is going to get a better look than this. This really is, as I say, a review copy just for the contents, uncorrected proof for limited distribution. As you can see, the final product will look more like something fit for bookshop shelves. I think this is going to be a classic, folks. This is really, really good stuff. So well chosen, those of you who voted for this one in the last poll. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed the review. Don't forget that you can find a Amazon, an associate link in the description of this video. If you use that link, then I get a little percentage at no extra cost to you, as the book is whatever the book costs. Amazon just give me a little prize, right, for everyone who actually accesses the website through those links and makes an actual purchase. It doesn't even have to be this book, by the way, but my guess is that for many of you it will be. There we are. Thanks very much once again for watching, and see you very soon with another video. Take care. Bye-bye.